You are listening to the Happiest Lives podcast with Jill Lillard, episode number 75.
Welcome to the Happiest Lives podcast, where you'll learn to think better, feel better, and become the woman God says you already are. Here's your host, Jill Lillard.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Happiest Lives podcast. And today is a new series. We're going to begin a new series, How to Get Unstuck. So if you are out there and you're feeling stuck in some area of your relationship, meaning you're spinning in circles, you're stuck in a rut, then I have some good news for you. I want to talk to you about some tools that will help you navigate wherever it is that you're feeling stuck so that you can get some forward movement. So what is wrong with being stuck besides the fact that we don't like spinning in the same circle? You know, it's kind of like going down a trail in the woods and it just goes in a circle around and round and round. And you get to the point where you just want off that trail because you've seen everything. I think the bigger problem with getting stuck is we begin to think that something is wrong with us. I think of the Count banging his head, I'll never get it. And I have thought that to myself at times in my life, that I'll never get it. Discouragement, self-loathing, and not trusting yourself. And we can become pretty preoccupied with ourselves when we feel stuck, feeling bad about ourselves, thinking that we should be better. And none of that helps us get forward movement. I think a bigger reason that we want to break this habit of stuckness is we might start to disconnect from our own heart and purposes. We begin living our life operating on default mode as though life is just happening to us and we're not actively involved, taking risks, getting engaged in hard things. And so if you want to feel better, this is where the heart scan coaching comes in. I use this process in all of my coaching groups. I teach women to think about problems the way I think of them as a therapist. So as I sit there and I'm listening to my clients, whether I'm doing therapy or I'm doing coaching, there's a certain way my brain is processing the information. And I want to be able to give that feedback to them, but I want them to be able to assess their life from where they are as well and see where they are in that process of change. So everything that we do is to feel better. The motivational triad tells us that we live to seek pleasure, avoid pain, and conserve energy. Now, I feel like God has put us here for higher purpose. We are here to glorify His name, to reflect His image, to help bring reconciliation and healing to relationships and move into what is good. There is a battle going on between the flesh and the spirit, between good and evil, and we are on the side of God, on the side of good. And we may feel battles within us. And as we make decisions each day, a lot of our decisions are colored by what feels good, what makes us comfortable. And we're going to avoid things that feel uncomfortable. And we're going to conserve all the energy that we had. And this is really helpful if we're trying to survive a Holocaust or some really extenuating circumstances. But in everyday life, when we're trying to avoid pain and seek pleasure, we are surrounded by so much pleasure and comfort that it can be really easy to just grow kind of fat and happy and not stretch ourselves, not get outside of our comfort zone and grow. And we will just feel a sense of stagnation in our life because we're not being who God wants us to be and we're not stretching ourselves. And I was saying to someone earlier in one of our coaching calls that, you know, there is always a cost to love. Love always has a cost. There's always some sacrifice that has to be made when we're loving well. And I think when we're loving well or living well, there will be a cost to that. Our discomfort is the currency for our success. And so it's going to be really easy to just follow the herd, do what everybody else is doing. And yet we will end up feeling this sense of stuckness in our life. So some examples of feeling stuck is you may feel stuck in your marriage. Maybe your marriage feels disappointing. You find that you are constantly disappointed with your spouse, you're disappointed with your relationship, and you kind of just keep repeating the same pattern over and over. And you aren't learning how to communicate different. There's no growth in your intimacy, and you feel like you're just living with these unmet expectations. Another area of stuckness may be spiritual growth. Maybe you're feeling disconnected from God, that He feels far away. No matter what your efforts are to engage in prayer, Bible study, or church activities, you are just feeling spiritually stagnant. A third area would be maybe feelings of unfulfillment or feeling directionless in your career. Perhaps you're struggling to balance work and family responsibilities, and you don't feel recognized for your efforts. So these are just some examples that you might be able to relate to, or maybe your area of stuckness is something entirely different. So over the next several weeks, I'm going to show you how to approach the problem that you're experiencing and apply the concepts that I am teaching. Today, I just want to introduce you to the overall tool, which is the heart scan process. And so that is the type of coaching we do, heart scan coaching within my coaching groups. It allows you to do 4 things. Number 1, it helps you slow down, sit far from the problem, take a breath, and look at it. Okay. And I use some tools that are going to help you do that. So you can get the problem out of your head onto paper and look at it. It also allows you to be honest and to tell the truth. So I know sometimes people can go to counseling and they can talk about a problem. They can talk about a relationship where they're experiencing a lot of hurt. They can talk about a job that they hate, and they might get some validation. They may get some empathy from that therapist. They may feel like, okay, I have someone in my corner who understands. And so that can feel really good because it can feel comforting and validating. But a good therapist, a good coach is also going to help you look at the bigger picture. They're going to help you be honest with yourself and tell the truth about what is really going on, which is never that you are just a victim in your situation or circumstance. They are going to help empower you to create change, which requires you to tell the truth about why you're doing what you're doing in your situation. Now, certainly there are actions that other people take that we wish they wouldn't take that do feel hurtful, and that they are responsible. They are responsible for those actions. You're not responsible for their actions. But there are ways that we can start showing up that leave us feeling like a victim, that leave us feeling powerless. And we may justify our actions and behaviors based on what they're doing, rather than being honest with ourselves about how it is that we're showing up and take responsibility for what we can control, which is our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. So the heart scan process does allow you to not only slow down, but to tell the truth. It also helps you stay connected. And so when you are growing, you cannot do that if there is a wall around your heart, if you're not sure of what you're thinking and feeling, if you're simply just numbing out and detaching. Numbing out pain doesn't fix pain. The pain's still there. You just aren't aware of it. And when it comes out, it's going to be big and it's going to be bad, right? And so if you are numbing yourself out, you're also not feeling joy. You're also not feeling the good feelings. You're numbing out all your emotions. And so the heart scan is going to allow you to stay connected by opening up to feeling and experiencing all the emotions, all the feelings. And when you do this, you're having a better relationship with yourself, which positions you to have a better relationship with others and certainly with God. Having an open relationship with God where you can come as you are is extremely important in your growth, because really that's what He's concerned with. He wants a relationship with us. And the fourth part of the heart scan process, it allows you to shift out of default mode. If you've been living your life on default mode, which I would say if you're stuck, there probably is a sense of being on default mode, you are feeling like it's the same Groundhog's Day every day. You're going to bed, you're waking up and kind of repeating the same process. And so you might just feel like life is happening to you and you aren't actively engaging in creating change, maybe even on a daily basis, which we don't need to create change on a daily basis, but we want to be engaged in the process of change on a daily basis, whether that is taking planned actions or evaluating what's happening and making new decisions. So those are the 4 things that the heart scan allows you to do. So how do we do a heart scan? Well, first off, the heart scan process is not a linear process. So as I teach it to you, I'm going to tell you the 4 parts. And so it may sound linear as though it goes in this order. And when you bring out a problem and we look at it, we may approach it in this order. However, where you are in the process of growth can be at any one point of these 4 things. The heart scan process is just my observations of what is happening when you are growing, when you are being transformed, when you are changing. And I feel like it's very rooted in biblical principles. And it's also going to mirror some of the wisdom that isn't necessarily found in the Bible. But I do believe that God gives common grace, that there is wisdom that we can attain outside of the Bible. We can learn how to bake and cook and fix a car. We can learn how the brain works. We can learn about science, all through these other fields of study. And so those fields of study aren't useless to us. They can be useful. And we can find what is true in the patterns of how God has created things. And though everyone may not attribute that to God, we can recognize that often the truths we find in the world will mirror things that we see in the Bible. We mirror truths that we even see in his creation. And so in doing a heart scan process, the first thing that we want to do is we want to be able to expose. So the first concept is exposing, and that is shining a light, turning on the light. So if you imagine you have a room in your house and it is full of boxes and dirt and bugs and critters, all sorts of things, that room, you can keep the lights off, you can shut the door, and you can just pretend that it's not there. But that room is still there. And if there are critters and things in there, eventually you're going to not fully be able to escape what's going on in that room. There may be a stench coming out of the room. But going in there and turning on the lights and opening the door isn't creating a problem that didn't already exist. It's just bringing it into your awareness. And so, yes, maybe you are going to have more thoughts about it and you're going to feel more things, but suppressing it and pretending like it's not there does not dismiss the fact that it is. And so we want to be able to shine a light on what is hidden. John 12:46 tells us, I have come into the world as a light so that no one who believes in me should stay in darkness. Jesus came as a light, and so when we believe in him, we don't have to stay in darkness. So when we expose, we want to turn on the lights and see what is going on. And this is the beginning of repentance. We can't repent of something that we did if we're not aware of our actions, right? We have to be able to acknowledge our actions, take ownership of our actions without justifying them. We might be able to increase our understanding of maybe why we did something, but we want to be able to expose it, shine a light on it, so that we can acknowledge what it is that we did, so that we can then progress to the next step, which is renewal. Renew is where we take on new thoughts. We look at new possibilities. What else is possible in this situation? So in the case of the room, by turning on the lights, seeing what is there, we can create a new vision for the room. What else is possible for this room? What else could it look like? We want to imagine a new result. And to do that, we have to think differently about the room. And we want to do the same thing in all areas of our life. In the area where you feel stuck, there are some thoughts that are keeping you stuck, and they're perpetuating ways that you are showing up in the world, and they're perpetuating the results that you are experiencing. Step 3 is to engage. And this is where we do the emotional work. We engage with the feelings that we're having rather than dismissing them, suppressing them, or trying to power our way to new thoughts. We want to be able to pause those emotions, get curious about them, and invite the Lord's presence. I think emotions are an invitation to engage with God. And so anytime we're feeling hurt, pain, sorrow, sadness, fear, we can turn toward the Lord. And a lot of times we are in the habit of shutting him out, of trying to work things out on our own and walling him out of our lives. And so when we enter into a process of engaging with him and engaging with our own emotions, we are on the pathway to change. And then the fourth part of doing a heart scan is pressing on. This is where we take actions despite unwanted feelings. Faith without works is dead. And so you can believe new things, you can have a new vision, but if you don't take the steps to do something different, nothing is going to change. And so like this room where we turned on the lights and exposed what was going on, we got a new vision of what it could look like. That is the renew. And we engaged in the process of what it is that we were feeling. Maybe we felt a little overwhelmed. Maybe we felt discouraged. We acknowledged those feelings. We took a breath. We allowed ourselves to feel the feelings. We then want to be able to press on and take actions that are going to honor the new vision, even if those feelings of overwhelm come up. And so we want to know how to navigate all of that, to navigate the emotions and also to create the new thoughts and to take actions from that. And so this is kind of an overview to the whole process of the heart scan process. As this month progresses, I'm going to go into a little bit more detail with these 4 parts and some of the tools that we use inside my coaching groups. If you have interest in knowing more about the heart scan process and about the tools we use inside the Happiest Lives, then you'll want to join me on a workshop that I'm doing this fall, How to Stop Being Disappointed in Your Marriage and Ignite Joy. And in that workshop, we are going to talk about this feeling of disappointment, and I'm going to show you how to apply the heart scan process and tools to this specific place of stuckness that you may be experiencing. So if you want to know more about this, go to myhappyvault.com where you can sign up. And if the time has already passed of the workshop, if you're listening to this in the past, then there may be a wait list that you can sign up so that you can get information about the next workshop. So thank you guys for listening today. Next week, we are going to talk about constraining and focusing. We want to be able to constrain and focus when we have a problem. Otherwise, we will continue to spin in confusion. I can't wait to see you guys then. We'll talk more soon. Have a beautiful week. If you're a woman feeling stuck in your relationship, constantly disappointed and searching for a deeper connection, I invite you to join my upcoming workshop, How to Stop Being Disappointed in Your Marriage and Ignite Joy. In just 3 days, spending only 1 hour a day, you'll learn how to navigate your emotions, gain fresh perspective, and take practical steps toward a more fulfilling relationship. Plus, there's live coaching where I'll personally help you work through your specific challenge. And the best part, it's only $27, and you'll get a code to invite a friend for free. Visit myhappyvault.com to reserve your spot now. Let's take this journey together and transform your marriage. I'll see you there.